In this episode of Retiring Today, we're talking about maximizing your employee-sponsored plans.
401k, 403b, 457, the rules, the rollovers, and what to do with these plans as you reach retirement.
Join us for Retiring Today. Welcome to Retiring Today. In this episode, we're covering employee-sponsored plans, how to handle them before retirement and as you move to and through retirement. I'm here with Loren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. Loren, a lot of people are fortunate enough to have an employee-sponsored plan.
Yeah, they sure are. The employer-sponsored plans shall not be overlooked if you want to really accomplish your goals from a retirement standpoint. They're easy to use most of the time. The expenses can be transparent and less in some of the occasions, and it's just an easy way to accumulate wealth for your retirement vision.
And the employee-sponsored plan, by the 401k, is maybe one of the most prevalent ones. It's a newer concept. The pension used to be really what everybody had for their retirement, but those are few and far between now.
Yeah, since the advent of the 401k, the pension plans have kind of gone away. I mean, they're really expensive. Some of the large employers with really big pension plans on the books are wishing that they weren't on the books because it's such a huge liability. So we've really seen a transition from the big employers away from the pensions, more to the 401k plans, the 403b, 457 type plans. And what that means to you is now your retirement savings is much more in your lap, much more in your hands than what it ever has been before.
And is that good or bad or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I mean, there's certainly an appeal to a pension. I remember my grandpa retired. He worked at Ford Motor Company in Detroit, Michigan his entire career. He retired. Grandma and grandpa had the Ford Motor Company pension. They had their Social Security payments and they had a little bit of savings. And I remember their retirement as being pretty fun for them. They traveled across this country for almost 30 years in their motorhome and had a blast. So a lot of their retirement savings or income came from Ford Motor Company and then Social Security. Whereas retirees today, they don't have that luxury of the pension, so now they have to be much more diligent, much more disciplined from a savings standpoint to make sure that they have adequate funding resources when they do retire.
And do you feel like there's a big difference between how to utilize the 401k when you're working and then, how to transition as you're getting closer to saying, I think I'm almost done with this whole work thing, I'm ready to retire?
There can be some differences of how you utilize these plans, and the big difference might surprise you a little bit. When you retire, most people don't want to use their employer plans at all. Compared to when you're working, you do want to use these employer plans because they're so easy to contribute to, and it's more of a hands-off style of investment. But once you retire, you want to use the vehicles for what they are designed for. The employer-sponsored plans are designed for new contributions, but when you retire, you're not going to be contributing to them anymore. The disadvantages of the employer plans then really start to shine, and it's more advantageous then to take the money from your employer plan, put it underneath your name, your control, where you have a lot more investment options to select from. You have a lot more opportunity then to control the fees and make sure they're adequate for what you're trying to accomplish. And probably the most important aspect is now you can make sure that you're truly diversified. Because underneath most employer-sponsored plans, we're really limited from an investment selection standpoint. Most of those opportunities to invest in are mutual funds, which can create some difficulties from a portfolio diversification standpoint, especially the bigger your portfolio gets.
And I've heard you talk about taking control of your 401k or your employee-sponsored plan. Is that typically at 59.5 for almost all plans, or some, is it later or earlier?
Most plans now offer 59.5 in-service withdrawal once you obtain that age. And some plans still don't, but it is becoming much more popular to offer that service because it's decreasing the liability on these employers by offering the employees the opportunity to take control of their money. So that's one of the things that you want to pay attention to with your plan. If you've obtained the age of 59.5, investigate whether or not your plan offers you that opportunity. And if you do, then you may decide you want to take advantage of that. Now, when we talk about taking advantage of the 59.5 in service withdrawal, sometimes there's some confusion there. Sometimes people say, well, okay, I'm going to remove my money from the plan, put it underneath my name, my control. There's no taxes when you do that if you do it right. and then now you can invest in anything you want to, but you still want to use the employer plan. So you're not going to say, I'm not going to use that employer plan at all, because you still want to use it, because the thing we like about these employer plans the most is the free money that's associated with it, the employer match. So what you want to do is take control over your money, put it over here underneath your name, your control, but still have your contributions going into the employer plan to take advantage of the ease of that plan, and then also the free money that may come with it.
And you find, though, I've heard you say that there's a little bit of a mental block for people sometimes, because if they've been contributing to this 401k for, let's say, 25 or 20 years, to pull it out and then start contributing again, they feel like somehow the money's not growing at as big of a rate because it's in a couple of different pots.
There's a psychological aspect to that. Let's say you have your employer plan, you've been contributing to it for 20 years, it's been growing in a nice way, and then you feel like you take that money out and you put it over here, but you're still contributing, you feel like you're kind of starting over. And that this pot of money is now going to grow slower than what it has before. So let's just give you an example. Let's say we have two pots of money. You have $50,000 underneath this pot, but you have $50,000 underneath this pot. If you earn 10% on this pot of your money, that's $5,000 growth. If you earn 10% over here, that's also $5,000 growth, $10,000 between the two of them. If we have just one pot with the full $100,000, we earn 10%, that's still $10,000 growth. So there's no advantage or disadvantage in having different pots of money from the growth standpoint. It's all about what is your vehicle, what is your investment doing underneath of it. The other reason that sometimes people feel like their account grows slower than what it did underneath the 401k plan is because underneath the 401k plan, every single pay period, you're putting money into that plan. So not only do you have the growth of the markets or what your investments are doing, but then you're also contributing to it, whereas this pot over here, you may not be contributing to it, right? You just might be growing it by the sheer growth of the investments. So that's kind of a comparison. That the fact that you have two different buckets of money does not mean it's going to grow slower. It just means that it's going to grow based on the types of investments and how they're doing underneath of it.
And when you go from growing the money to then you have to kind of think about when am I going to spend the money and how I'm going to spend the money, it's not just about income though too. You have to think about taxes and investments, and those are just 3 of the 5 guiding principles that you use when you help people kind of craft their own retirement vision.
Yeah, so the 3 of the 5 guiding principles that we're going to focus on in today's show is going to be the income piece, the tax piece, and then also the investment piece of the overall Merkle retirement method. And we're going to talk about it in the construct of employer plan, the advantages, the disadvantages, and some of the specific action strategies that you can facilitate, that you can take prior to retirement and in retirement.
Okay, so let's talk about how to use the 401k before retirement. What do we need to know?
Before retirement, a couple strategies with the 401k plan is one is you do want to contribute to it. If you get an employer match, you want to make sure that you maximize that free money, maximize that employer match as much as you possibly can. So if they're going to match 100% of your first 6% contribution, then you want to make sure, if you can, that you put that 6% in to get the full employer match. Anything in addition to that, if and this is going to be very independent or dependent upon your situation, if you have the ability to contribute to an IRA outside of the employer plan from a cash flow standpoint, then you can look at the IRAs outside. And today, with the tax environment that we're in, with taxes at historical lows, where we think taxes are going to be going in the future, we feel like they're going to go up, then you might want to strongly consider using the Roth IRA. Any money that goes into the Roth IRA is after tax, so you're paying the tax on it now, but then it grows tax-free forever. So you never have to pay taxes on that growth, federal taxes on that growth ever again. So one strategy could be contribute up to the max to get the free money. And then if you want to contribute or are able to contribute in excess to that, contribute to a Roth IRA outside of the 401k plan. And then if you can contribute even more to that, then come back to the 401k plan and take advantage of the higher contributory limits. Because underneath the 401k plan, you can contribute $19,500 for this year, if you're 50 and older, an additional $6,500, $26,000 total.
And do people sometimes continue to contribute to their 401k plan after they retire from the company?
No, after they retire from the company, the ability to contribute to that employer plan does cease. So you won't be able to contribute to it. There are some other investment vehicles if you have some excess cash flow, maybe from a part-time job or maybe from some farm income or real estate income. There's some other vehicles you may be able to contribute to, but not the employer plan.
And maybe, contribute probably wasn't what I was actually thinking, but that is a good distinction. Keep the money there. Can you keep the money with that 401k plan?
Most employer plans will allow you to keep that money there. Now the question is, should you? And the answer to that question is dependent again upon your situation. Let's say you retire at 55. You retire at 55, you have $500,000 underneath your employer plan. That represents the primal savings account for your retirement income. You might decide to keep all of that money, or at least a good chunk of that retirement money, underneath your employer plan, because there is a rule that means you can take income from it, even though you're not 59 and a half, you can take income from it, not have to pay the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Of course, you have to pay taxes, but you don't have to pay the penalty. So there are some reasons why the employer plan, even when you're retired, may make sense. But predominantly speaking, for most retirees, you do want to sweep that money out of the employer plan, the old employer plan, and then put it underneath your name, your control.
Okay, we spent a lot of time talking about 401ks. We'll continue the conversation about employee-sponsored plans, ESOP, TSP, pensions, a simple IRA, and more when Retiring Today continues.
With the current state of the markets, are you worried about what the future might hold for your retirement? Take advantage of learning opportunities through our online workshops. Learn if your retirement is still on track and discover income, tax, and investment strategies from the comfort of your own home. Go to merkleplan.com to view course offerings and sign up today. Take control of your retirement. Sign up today.
Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Loren Merkle. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provide strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkleplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. Maximizing your employee-sponsored plan is the subject of today's show, and here to talk about it with us is Loren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. Loren, I think you did a good job talking a little bit about the 401k, how to use it before retirement and after retirement. There's a few more plans we want to go over, kind of just a few highlights of the plans. First, the ESOP. What is an ESOP and how does it factor into a retirement plan?
There are so many variations of retirement plans. We're just trying to hit a few of the main ones today. The ESOP plan is really good talking topic right now because these ESOP plans are designed from employers to give a really good benefit to their employees, basically as part ownership, if you will, in the form of stock ownership for that employer. And typically what we've seen during a really good market time frame where the economy is booming and a lot of these companies are growing, these ESOP plans perform incredibly well. So you have the option many times to keep all of this ESOP money underneath your employer stock, or sometimes you can divest yourself all or a part of that investment away from it into anything else you want to. So the dilemma always is, and this is where the conversation goes, is do I keep this money underneath the ESOP plan where it's been doing so well, 20+% every single year, or do I take a piece of it off the table just in case? Because the risk that you have with these ESOP plans is what happens to your employer. If something happens to your employer, the ESOP plan goes away, then all of this retirement savings for you goes away as well. So there's a big risk associated with many of the ESOP plans. And we typically don't see the ramifications of having too much or an overweighted amount of your retirement money underneath ESOP plans until we go through a poor economical experience like what we're going through right now. And so already I've seen ESOP plans or employers who offer ESOP plans suffering The ESOP plans are kind of wobbly right now, and these employees are wondering, is that money really going to be there for them? So during the good years, it's wonderful to have it, but I think it's important to understand the basic concepts of retirement planning. Don't have too much or all of your eggs in one basket, and that includes the ESOP plan.
Is it kind of hard to talk people into this diversification when they're a little emotionally attached to it? You know, I work for company X, I work really hard, I really like company X, why wouldn't I invest a lot of money into it?
Yeah, and a lot of times that's the bias, right? You're tied to that employer, you have a good feeling of what's going on inside the internal workings of that employer, and things have been going so good for so long, how could they possibly change? But if you follow the general rule of let's not have all of our eggs or too many of our eggs in one basket, you're going to generally prevail over if you're over concentrated in one particular area, especially if that's your employer, because not only do you have a large portion of your retirement money with them, but your current income is also based on that employer as well. So talk about too many eggs in one basket. The ESOP plans, it's really easy, it's really tempting to go that route, take advantage of it, but when you have the opportunity to divest, then generally it is a good idea to take a little bit off the table.
Okay, let's talk about the TSP. What are some tips to maximize that employee plan?
Some of the new evolutions of the TSP is they now offer 59.5 in service withdrawals, as many as you want. It used to be you only had one lifetime 59.5 in service withdrawal. So now you can do as many as you want to, much like the employer plans, the 401k plans that offer 59.5 in service withdrawal. You have more flexibility on the distributions and taking control over that money. And the general rules still apply, meaning that the TSP is an employer-sponsored plan. You're limited as far as the investment options. The pricing on those investment options is really attractive. That's a good point. But typically you want control over the majority of your retirement savings when you have the opportunity to do so. So if you have the opportunity, whether it's the TSP, the 401k, it's generally a good idea to take control over it.
And we often see that government employees are some of the people that have TSPs. We did an entire episode on the different types of government retirement plans. We broke them down. We kind of talked about maximizing those. So if you are one of those employees, you might want to check out our YouTube channel. It's Merkle Retirement Planning, and there's some good stuff for you there. But let's continue the conversation. Let's talk a little bit about pensions, because there's some things you want to make sure people know about the lump sum versus the monthly income.
Yeah, a lot of these employers who still offer the pension are anxious for their employees to get away from that pension. So what we've seen over the last few years is these employers offering incentives to take the lump sum. But even if they don't offer an incentive, if your employer doesn't offer an incentive, it's an evaluation to have. Back in the 80s, my grandpa didn't have the lump sum option. His only choice was, let's take that annuity payment. Now, most of these pensions, you have the option. Do you take that annuity payment over the course of your lifetime? If so, there's multiple options on the annuity side of that pension plan. Or do you take the lump sum buyout, where you now have control over this money? You can do anything you want with it. You can invest it any way you want to. And some pensions, the annuity payout is really attractive. That's the route you'd probably want to go. Some pensions, it's not. Some pensions, the lump sum makes more sense. It's an evaluation that's necessary to make sure you're optimizing your pension plan that you have.
Okay, what about if you're self-employed? What are your options?
Self-employed is a little trickier because now you are the employer. So you're responsible not only for saving for yourself, but if you have employees, it's kind of nice to offer them a savings vehicle for their retirement as well, because it'll help with retention, employee retention. So there are some options. We're talking about small employers now. There's some simple plans, simple IRA plans that are out there, some SEP IRA plans. Those two plans, there's some nuances to them, and it's about determining which one might be the best option for you. But also now, the 401k plans are much more affordable for small employers as well. So as an example, here at Merkle Retirement Planning, we have a 401k plan that our employees are able to participate and help them save for their retirement. So even small employers now, 401k plans financially can make a lot of sense. It's about the evaluation, making sure you get the best plan for you.
Okay, so we've been talking about a lot of different types of plans. Maybe you have one of these plans and you're just not quite sure what to do, or maybe if the 59.5 in-service withdrawal is something that you're interested in, here's a good option. You could talk to a retirement planner. merkleplan.com. Right there, you can go to the calendar of the Merkle Retirement Planning Retirement Planners and schedule a 15-minute retirement checkup call. We're going to continue talking about employee-sponsored plans and how to maximize them when we return. But first, we've got our Ask the Advisor question. Here it is. Beth from West Des Moines wants to know, how can I diversify my investments before I retire? We'll answer her question and much more when Retiring Today continues.
Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Loren Merkle. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provide strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkleplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today.
With the current state of the markets, are you worried about what the future might hold for your retirement? Take advantage of learning opportunities through our online workshops. Learn if your retirement is still on track and discover income, tax, and investment strategies from the comfort of your own home. Go to merkleplan.com to view course offerings and sign up today. Take control of your retirement. Sign up today.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. Beth from West Des Moines wants to know, how can I diversify my investments before I retire? Guy who has the answer to that question, Loren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. And Loren, what would you tell Beth?
This is a very timely question, Beth, especially with the market meltdown that we had this year in 2020. Diversification is top of mind for most people as well as it should be. If you watch the show for any period of time, you hear us talk about the importance of diversification at length. So it's really important to use technology because it's available. And what technology does is first identify is how much risk are you taking in your portfolio? Because after all, when we talk about diversifying our portfolio, that's what we're trying to control. We're trying to control how much risk we are taking in our portfolio. So the first place to start is, where are you at right now? If this market continues to be volatile, which it probably will be, what is the ride of your portfolio with the market? Is it going to be very commensurate to what this market is doing? Is it going to be less volatile than the market? And most importantly, are you comfortable with that type of risk? Because if you're within 5 years of retiring, how your portfolio reacts when the market goes up and down is extremely important to you to accomplish your retirement goals. So number one, start with technology and try to identify how your portfolio will react in this market condition. And then two, you can start to dissect your portfolio to make sure that you have true diversification. And how that works is make sure that your investments are transparent, so you actually know what is underneath of your investments, which is extremely difficult with a lot of types of investments out there, like mutual funds, right? That's one of the reasons that we don't like, or that's one of the disadvantages of employer plans, is really all you have to invest in is mutual funds. So if you're 59 and a half or older, and you have the ability to take that money underneath your employer plan, put it in your IRA, it can help you on your mission to having a more diversified portfolio. So I hope that helps a little bit. If you need some clarification specific to your portfolio, are you diversified? And how much risk are you taking? That's part of what we can help with as well.
And you mentioned something I want to go back to, which was the first half of 2020 and the volatility that we saw. If you didn't like what your portfolio did, you can still do something about it. You don't have to just be a victim to the stock market.
What an opportunity 2020 really provided us, because we've been on an 11-year bull run market. So a lot of our portfolios have just gone like this with a couple hiccups along the way. People kind of lose track over the years of how much risk they're really taking in their portfolio. But if you've lost track, 2020 was a great reminder of how much risk you're really taking. So what we are encouraging people to do right now as it relates to their portfolio is take a look back and assess in 2020, in March, when we had more volatility than what we've ever had since the Great Depression. How did your portfolio react? Did it go down by too much? Did it upset your retirement plans? Did it make you really nervous and uncomfortable? And then when the market does rebound substantially, now you have this opportunity to redesign your portfolio to make sure that you don't go through that again. Because you're right, we don't have to be victims to this stock market. Our portfolio, we can control. The stock market, we can't do anything about it, but you can control how your portfolio reacts. So we don't have to be victim to the stock market. What we are confident in is the recessions are going to happen a couple times throughout the course of your retirement. On average, they happen every 4.5 years. So if you want a 20 to 30 year retirement, you're going to have to go through them multiple times. So you might as well be prepared for it to make sure that the market does not upset your retirement vision.
Let's go through the takeaways from today's show, Loren. First up, know the rules about your plan. Each one is so different.
Every plan is a little bit different. Understand how your plan works, what advantages you have within your plan to take advantage of, like 59.5 in service withdrawal. There's some loan provisions. There's tax law changes or legislative changes, like the $100,000 distribution with the CARES Act. Understand how that works and use all of these to your advantage to help you through your retirement plan.
And you touched on it, take control when you can. That's our second takeaway from today's show. The third takeaway, use the plan. Take advantage of the plan to build your retirement income.
Take advantage of it. It's easy to contribute to. That employer plan is there for a reason. A lot of them offer free money. Take advantage of the free money. That's a no-brainer. And then take advantage of the higher contributory limits if it makes sense for you as well.
Employee-sponsored plans are just one piece of meeting your retirement vision. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to your retirement goals. There's legacy planning, there's healthcare, there's long-term care. A lot of things we didn't cover in today's show. A good place to start is to attend a workshop. Go to our website, it's merkleplan.com. They're complimentary workshops that go over all the pieces of how to fit together your retirement vision. Another thing, Loren, are the retirement checkup calls. What are those all about?
Yeah, just like we offered Beth, we have a complimentary 15-minute retirement checkup phone call. If you have questions, concerns about your retirement plan, you just want to know about how to use your employer plan the best way possible, give us a call. You can schedule that 15-minute retirement phone call through our website. You have direct access to a retirement planner's calendar that way.
And you've been doing those now for quite some time. How are they going?
Going really well. We can cover a lot of territory, a lot of ground in a short 15 minutes.
And we try to continue to cover a lot of ground. In this show, it's Retiring Today. We also have a podcast. If you want to get some retirement information that's a little more timely, we have a little bit of fun with that podcast, and you want to take that on the go with you, check out our podcast. It's also called Retiring Today, as is this show, and we thank you for watching.
Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Loren Merkle. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provide strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkleplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today.
With the current state of the markets, are you worried about what the future might hold for your retirement? Take advantage of learning opportunities through our online workshops. Learn if your retirement is still on track. Go to merkleplan.com to view course offerings and sign up today.
From our family to yours, we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
We'll see you next week.